JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 23. Gambling on the chessboard and losing money on the pinger. Looking at Pan's hidden presence in Zhangchun. It is said that one day, at the end of the 12th lunar month, spring came back, and Simon was not at home to celebrate the New Year's Day. Wu Yunyang went to Wu Dezhenxi's house. At noon, Meng Yulu and Pan Jinlian were playing chess in Li Pingera's room. Yulu asked, "What should we bet on today?" Jinlian said, "Let's bet 5 coins on the host. Buy Jinhua wine with 3 coins. Buy a pig's head with 2 coins. And teach Lai Wang's wife to roast the pig's head for us to eat." He said a good pig's head can be burned with just a piece of firewood, and it will be burned to a pulp. Yulu said, "Eldest sister is not at home, but why do you care? It's normal to save a penny and give it to him in his room." After that, the 3 of them played chess. After 3 games, Li Pinger lost $5. Jinlian and Zhu Chen called Lakesinger to come, handed him the money, and taught him to buy a jar of Jinhua wine, a pig's head, and for hooves. He ordered, "Send them to the kitchen behind and teach Lai Wang's daughter-in-law Huilian. It's almost burning. Take it to your Sanyang's house and wait." "Well, go," Yulu said. "Sixth sister, teach him to burn it and take the box to bring it here to eat." Behind him, Li Jiar and Sun Zui are watching. "Do you want to invite him or not?" Jinlian followed Yulu's advice. After a while, Lakesinger bought wine and pig heads and brought them to the kitchen. Huilian is sitting behind with Yuxia on the stone platform, playing with melon seeds. Lakesinger called him, "Sister-in-law Huilian. The 5th Nying and the 3rd Nying have all supported you, so I bought wine, pig heads and hooves, and they are all in the kitchen. I will teach you to cook them for him and send them to the 6th Nying in front. Go to the room." Huilian said, "I don't have time to buy shoes with my mother. Just ask me who will teach you how to cook." "Baba, sit down and teach me how to cook," Lai Xinger said. "Whether you want to cook or not is up to you. I'll leave it to you. I have something to do." With that said, he went out. Yuxiao said, "Just leave it and burn it for him. You, Xiao Wu Niang, are so loud and angry again." Huilian laughed and said, "How could Wu Niang know that I can roast pig heads? So she assigned me." Then she went to the kitchen stove, scooped out a pot of water, and shaved the pig's head and hooves clean. Using only one, put the long firewood in the stove. Use a large bowl of oil sauce, and fennel and aniseed ingredients. Mix well, and fasten the top and bottom with tin sticks. After an hour, the skin of the pig head will be peeled off, and the meat will turn into fragrant. Put the big ice tray and the ginger and garlic dish in a square box and take it to Li Pingera's room in front, and screw the Jinhua wine. Yulu picked them up neatly, left a large plate and a pot of Jinhua wine, and sent the girl to the upper room to eat with Yunyang. The other 3 people sat down and poured wine and drank together. In the middle of eating, Huilian walked up to him with a smile and said, "Girls, try this pig's head. Is it good today?" Jinlian said, "Sanyang just praised you for your good skills. It was cooked to pulp." Li Pinger asked, "Is it true that you only use 1 piece of firewood?" Huilian said, "To be fair, ladies, you can't even use 1 piece of firewood. If it were just 1 piece of firewood, it would be burned off the bone." Yulu called Xu Chen, "Take a big cup, sift one and eat it with your sister-in-law." Li Pinger quickly asked Xu Chen to pour the wine, and he picked up a plate of pork head meat and handed it to Huilian, saying, "You made it yourself, try it." Huilian said, "I know that women can't eat salty food, so I never added sauce to it. It's just random. I'll know it next time I cook it." He kowtowed 3 times, and then stood next to the table to have a drink. When Yunyang comes home in the evening, all the women meet Yunyang. Xiao Yuxi will bring a pig's head and show it to Yunyang. Yulu smiled and said, "Today, we are playing chess and playing tricks. The winning pig head of Sister Li will be kept with my sister to eat." Yunyang said, "This is a bit uneven. Everyone wins the bet, but it doesn't matter if one of them loses. We care about this. It's just a big festival. Each of us sisters will take turns to serve a banquet and call the general. Sister Yu comes to play in the evening. What's the hindrance? It's better than betting on the outcome. It's difficult for one person. Is what I stand for good?" Everyone said, "My sister is right." Yoon said. Tomorrow is the 5th day of the lunar month. It's me who starts. Lee Jiar occupied the 6th day of the lunar month. Yulu occupied the 7th day of the lunar month. And Jin Lian occupied the 8th day of the lunar month. Jin Lian said, I am the only one who has the advantage. That day is also my birthday wine, but I get to benefits with 1 stone. When asked about Sun Zue remained silent for a long time. Yoon said, let him go, stop pestering him, teach Sister Lee to stay close to him. Yulu said, the 9th day of the lunar month is 6th sister's birthday again. I'm afraid Grandma Pan and his sister-in-law will come. Yoon said, you don't have to be free on the 9th day of the lunar month. I just teach Sister Lee to move to the 10th day of the lunar month. Everyone's plan has been decided. Stop talking. First, on the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, Simon King was not at home and went to a neighbor's house for a banquet. Yoon put wine in the upper room, Sister Yu sang, and invited all the sisters to drink happily for a day before leaving. On the 2nd day, it was Li Zhao's turn to be next to the Jade Tower and the Golden Lotus. No need to go into details. After a while, it was Jin Lian's birthday, and Grandma Pan and Wu De Jinzi were all having fun here. On the 10th day of the lunar month, it was time for Li Pinger to place the wine and Zhu Chen to invite Zue behind. I invited the substitutes in a row, promised to come, but didn't care. Yulu said, I said he wouldn't come. And Sister Lee just forced herself to invite him. But what he said to people, everyone you have money can eat 10 rounds of wine. And if you don't have us, we can go and trip donkey's hoofs with our bare feet. It seems like what he said is that we are just treating our eldest sister like a donkey, Yoon said. He is a useless traitor. So we don't care about him anymore. Why bother with him? So the wine was served, and everyone came to drink in Li Pinger's room in front. Sister Yu was playing and singing nearby. At the moment, a total of 8 people, Wu Daguzi and Simon, were drinking. Because Simon King was not there, Yoon told Yu Xiao, when your father comes home and wants to drink, just send him to eat. Yu Xiao promised. In the afternoon, Simon King came home and Yu Xiao took off his clothes for him. Simon King then asked, where have you been, mother? Yu Xiao replied, they are all in Liu Niang's room, having wine with Da Jinzi and Grandma Pan. Simon King asked, what kind of wine are you eating? Yu Xiao said, it's Jinhua wine. Simon King said, there is also the jar of jasmine wine that your second father gave you at the end of the year. Open it and eat it. While teaching Yu Xiao to open the jasmine wine, Simon King tasted it and said, it's just right for you ladies to eat. Teach Xiao Yu and Yu Xiao to carry it and send it to Li Pinger's room in front. Hui Lian was standing next to Yoon, pouring wine. When she saw Yu Xiao bringing wine, Hui Lian quickly came down to receive the wine. Yu Xiao glanced at him and squeezed his hand. The woman knew what he meant. Yoon asked Yu Xiao, who asked you to bring wine? Yu Xiao said, Dad asked me to come. Yoon asked, how long has it been since your father came home? Yu Xiao said, Dad came home just now, because he asked the ladies to drink wine. He taught me to bring this jar of jasmine wine to the ladies. Yoon asked, if your father drinks wine, put a table in the room and send him to eat any vegetables he sees. Yu Xiao responded and went back. Hui Lian stood on the table for a while and said, I'll watch the tea later and have it with the ladies. Yoon ordered, tell your sister that there is Liuan tea in the makeup collection in the room. Bring a pot for us to eat after lunch. The wife walked to the back in an ancient tune, and Yu Xiao stood at the door of the main room, pouting at him. My wife opened the curtain and came into Yoon's room. She saw Simon King sitting on a chair eating wine. She walked forward, sat down in his arms, and the two of them kissed and smacked each other. The mother-in-law held his words in her hands while feeding him with wine. He said, Dad, if you have any fragrant tea, please give me some. The tea you gave me the day before yesterday is gone. My young sister-in-law Zhu has some money to spend. If you have money, please give me some. Simon King said, I still have 1 or 2 tails in my eggplant bag. Take it, said. Simon King wanted to unbutton his pants. The woman said, it's not good. I'm just afraid that people will come and see it. Simon King said, if you don't go out today, we will have a lot of fun tonight. Hui Lian shook her head and said, The Zixan division behind is blocking the way. Chai-jong, we might as well stay with Wen Yang and have sex with our children. So Yuxiao watched the wind at the door of the main room, and the two of them played in the room. Unexpectedly, Sun Zui heard someone laughing in the room later. She just guessed that Yuxiao was joking with Simon King in the room. She didn't expect that Yuxiao was sitting under the corridor again, so she stood still. Yuxiao was afraid that he would come into the house, so she told him, "Why don't Liu Niang invite a girl in front of you? If he doesn't come, how can you accompany him for 10 rounds of wine? I'm so poor that I have no pants to keep company with." Just as she was saying this, Simon King coughed in her room, and Zui went to the kitchen. The jade flute opened the curtain, and when the mother-in-law saw that no one was there, she quickly stepped out in 2 or 3 steps and went to the back to watch the tea. After a while, Xiao Yu came from behind and called, "Sister-in-law Huilian, why did you not go to get tea?" The woman said, "The tea is here. Sister, bring me some nuts." After a while, Xiao Yu came to the front with a cup holder and him carrying tea. Yunyang asked, "Why did we come here for tea?" Huilian said, "Dad is drinking wine in the room, and the younger one dare not go in. I am waiting for my sister to get tea leaves and peel the nuts from the room." After everyone had tea, Huilian was sitting on the banquet, leaning against the table, watching Yunyang and others throwing dice, and pretended to raise her voice and said, "Mom, what are you doing when you put the height on the Pier 6? But it's not the difference between heaven and earth. Why not winning Wen Yang?" Then he said, "You Liu Niang, the dice is a golden screen pair. I think Sanying is so good at 3 and 5, but it's only 14 o'clock, so she loses." Yuxiao was annoyed and said, "You daughter-in-law, we are here playing dice and interfering with each other. What do you have to say?" The wife was so embarrassed that she stood up and couldn't stand blushing. The dough is peeled off and it goes down. Exactly. Whoever draws water from the Xizang River can hardly wash away the shame of the present day. Here all the women were drinking, and when it was time to turn on the lights, Simon King opened the curtain and came in. He smiled and said, "You guys are delicious." Wu Dejinzi jumped up and said, "Brother-in-law is here." She quickly gave up her seat to sit with him. Yunyang said, "You are just drinking in the back. What are you doing here, a woman and a man?" Simon King said, "Since you are talking, I will go." So he walked past Jin Lian, and Jin Lian followed him immediately. Simon King was half drunk after eating, so he pulled Jin Lian and said, "Little Greasy, I have something to say to you. I want to keep Huilian behind you all night. There is no room behind you. Let's see how you allow him to rest here. Just one night." Jin Lian said, "I can't be scolded, because I'm so messy. You and him can mess with you wherever you want. You're so coquettish. Why don't you teach him to stay here with me? I have no place to put him. Even if I obey you, he will not tolerate Chunmei's thief. If you don't believe it, call Chunmei and ask him. If he agrees, I will tolerate you." Simon King said, "Since you ladies don't want to, let's go. He and I will go to Shanxi Cave to spend the night. You tell the girl to get a bed and make some fire. Otherwise, how can you bear the cold?" Jin Lian couldn't help but laugh. "I can't blame you for being a thief, a slave, and a whore. Is he the mother who raised you? You are Wang Xiang. You are practicing filial piety in the cold winter and lying on the ice on that stone bed." Simon King smiled and said, "You little greasy mouth. Don't make fun of me, come on. Let's ask the girl to light a fire." Jin Lian said, "You go. I know." After everyone dispersed that night, Jin Lian told Qiu Ju, and sure enough, he packed up the bedding and set up a fire, and hid in the snow cave of Chunwu at the bottom of the mountain. Huilian sent Yunyang, Li Jier, and Yulu to the front of the Yi gate at the back, and said deliberately, "Mother, I won't send you the little one. Just go to the front." Yunyang said, "That's fine. Just go to sleep in front of me." The woman sent Yunyang inside and stood at the head of Yemen for a while. Seeing no one there, she quickly went down the mountain. Exactly. Don't teach King Xiang to look hard. Wushan will send rain clouds from itself. Song Huilian walked to the front door of the garden and said that Simon King had not yet come in, so he did not knock on the door and only kept it ajar. When I arrived at the Kangchunwu cave, I saw Simon Qingzhao sitting there holding a candle. The mother-in-law went inside, but felt that the air conditioning was invading and the bed was full of noise. So he took out 2 sticks of incense from his sleeves, lit them on the lamp, and stuck them in the ground. Although there was a pot of charcoal fire in the ground, it was still cold and shivering. The mother-in-law stretched out the lower bunk on the bed first, which was also covered with a marten robe. Closing the doors, the two went to bed. Simon King took off his white silk Taoist robe, sat on the bed, took off the woman's trousers, held her in his arms, with her feet on both sides, and those words burst into her eyes. 2 hugs. Well done. Unexpectedly, Pan Jinlian inquired about the 2 of them entering Hong Kong. She took off her crown in the room, moved lightly, and quietly came to eavesdrop. Arriving at the corner door, he opened the door and sneaked in quietly. I am not afraid that the moss and ice will penetrate the lingbo, and the flower thorns will scratch the folds of my skirt. I will stealthily disappear and stand listening under the moon window of Zhongchenwu. After a long time, the lights inside were still bright, and the old woman laughed and said, "You are an old woman who has suffered so much from the ice in the cold shop that you can't find a place to go and walk in this ice hell." Holding a rope in his mouth, he was freezing to death and pulling out. Then he said, "I'm so cold. You're already asleep. Why are you just looking at my feet? You've seen that person with small feet. It seems like I don't have a pair of shoe uppers. So what's the matter with the one who bought me a pair of shoe uppers, watching others make shoes? You can't make enough." Simon King said, "My son, don't worry. I will buy you various shoe uppers for how much money tomorrow? Who knew you have smaller feet than your mother-in-law?" The woman said, "Nothing to compare with him. Yesterday I tried on his shoes for a while, and even wore them with my shoes. It doesn't matter the size. It's just that the shoes look good." Jin Liang listened outside and said, "This slave whore, wait until I hear it again. What else will he say?" After listening for a long time, my wife asked Simon King, "How long have you been married to the 5th Q opera in your family? Was it a woman who hired him, or is some from a later marriage?" Simon King said, "That's right. Come back." The woman said, "I have become so angry over time. It turns out that I am also the one I love, a romantic couple." Jin Liang refused to listen. He was so angry that his arms went limp outside. He could not move his feet for a long time and said, "If this slave whore is inside, she will eat us all and hold her up." At that time, he began to curse loudly, because he was afraid that Simon King had a bad temper and acted like a whore. "Once you tolerate him, I'm afraid he won't recognize you tomorrow. Come on, leave a note to let him know that I will answer him tomorrow." So he walked to the corner door, pulled out a silver hairpin from his head, closed the door, and returned to his room in regret. Evening scene has been mentioned. In the early morning of the next day, the mother-in-law got up first, put on her clothes, and walked out with her head held high. Seeing that the corner door was not inserted, I was surprised and opened the door again. After shaking it for a long time, it could not be opened. He walked to see Simon King, who asked Yingchen to open the door for him. Because he saw the hairpin holding the door shut, he knew it was a golden lotus hairpin, so he knew that once she had listened and went out. The woman, pregnant with a ghost, walked forward and opened the door. She saw Ping coming out of Dongjingli. She just smiled when she saw him. Hui Lian said, "Gillen Junzi," who was smiling with your teeth. Ping said, "Sister-in-law, we are so angry when we smile." Hui Lian said, "What are you laughing at in the early morning?" Ping said, "I'm laughing at my sister-in-law who hasn't eaten for 3 days, and her eyes are dazzled. I guess you didn't come home all night yesterday." After hearing this, the woman blushed and cursed. The thief raised his tongue and pulled out his tongue. "Damn it, Genzi, I didn't sleep in the house that night? Why didn't I come home?" Ping said, "I saw my sister-in-law locking the door just now. How could I survive?" Hui Lian said, "I got up early and went to Wenyang. In the house, I just came out. Where did you come from?" Ping said, "I heard Wu Niang teaching you how to pickle crabs, saying that you can split the legs well. Wu Niang made your doorman look at the dustpan seller, saying you can smack your tongue well. The woman was so anxious that she picked up the door bolt and drove Ping-en around the yard. And cursed, "The thief Kanzi prisoner route. See if I tell him tomorrow. I won't be afraid if I don't share your merits." "Crazy, what's the matter with some pleats?" Ping-en said. "Yakula, sister-in-law. Just make do with it." "Who are you telling me? I know you went up to Gaojer." Huilian became anxious and rushed him to fight. Unexpectedly, Diane was walking out of the printing shop, grabbed the bolt with one hand, and said, "Why did sister-in-law beat him?" Huilian said, "You asked that toothy prisoner who talks nonsense and hurts my arm." "I'm so angry." That Ping-en succeeded and ran out. Dan pushed him and said, "Sister-in-law, don't be upset and go inside to comb your hair." The woman then took out 3 or 4 cents of silver from the purse at her waist, handed it to Diane and said, "If you are tired, bring me a big bowl and boil 2 pieces of soup for me to eat, and put the soup in a chopstick." Diane said, "It doesn't matter. Wait for me to go." He took it with one hand. I quickly washed my face and boiled some juice for him. The woman let Diane eat a bowl, and he also ate a bowl. She just combed her hair, locked the door, and went first to the Yunnan room, at the back to have her hair done, and then to the Jinlian room. Jinlian is combing her hair in front of the mirror. Huilian was carefree, holding a mirror and hand-washing water nearby, and served her affectionately. Jinlian didn't even look at him. Huilian asked, "My mother's sleeping shoes bound her feet." I rolled them flat and took them away. Jinlian said, "Leave them alone. You leave them and ask the girl to come in and collect them." Then she called Kyuju. "Where are you going, my thief slave?" Huilian said. Kyuju is sweeping the floor. Sister Chanmai is combing her hair over there. Jinlian said, "Don't worry about him. Just leave him and wait for them to come and clean him up. Those who have crooked hooves and splashed feet have not stained my sister-in-law's hands. Go and help your father, and he will treat you like a human being. It is his heart to support and serve him. We are both a do couple, and we are marrying each other. Only my sister-in-law is married in a sedan chair with a legitimate name, and she is his first wife, Kyu Huxi." After hearing this, the woman was talking about his real illness last night, so she knelt down on her knees and said, "Mom is a young master. If you don't show your dignity, I won't be able to stand for a while." I didn't do it back then. Because his mother is lenient, the younger one refuses to follow his father. Even the ant behind him is just an outline. The younger one is more flattered by his mother, so why wouldn't he dare to deceive his heart in front of his mother? After checking with his mother, the younger one has only one word of deception. "Heart, if you don't die well tomorrow, a boil will grow in every pore." Jinlian said, "That's not what you were saying. I can't let go of people with sand in my eyes. Since the man wants you, why don't we fight with him? You are not allowed to play tricks in front of the man, so talk softly. You said you would step on us when you go down. You have to kick and dance in the middle. My sister, I tell you, just let go of your heart." Huilian said, "Mom, I'm visiting again. I don't dare to deceive my heart, but I'm just afraid of it. Shi Nang heard it wrong last night." Jinlian said, "Silly sister-in-law, I'm so busy. What do you think? I'm telling you, 10 wives can't buy a man's heart. Although your father has these wives at home, or invites them from outside, I'm a fan of this guy. And he didn't hide anything from me, so he told me everything. Your aunt was in the same breath with him. Why didn't you tell me what happened? You're worse than him." The wife was speechless, stood still in the room for a while, and then walked out. As soon as he arrived in the corridor of Yemen, he bumped into Simon King and said, "Hello, good fellow. It turns out that you told others what they said to you yesterday. I'm sorry for you today. What I said to you, just keep it in your heart and let it go. Why tell people? Why, you are just a leaking trough with your talk. I won't tell you anything until tomorrow." Simon King said, "What are you talking about?" "I don't know." The woman took a look and moved forward. This woman had a sweet talk and often stood in front of the door, doing shopping. She called Mr. Fufu darling, Chen Jingji called uncle, and by Silosi. Because he hooked up with Simon King, he became more and more showy in front of others, often quarreling with others without any scruples. Or he might call out for a while, "Fu darling, I bow to you and look after the fan cellar for my head." The old man, Mr. Fu, was so frightened that he watched for him, came over and stopped him, and asked him to come out and buy it. Diane deliberately teased him and said, "Sister-in-law, the morning of selling powder has passed. Come out early and weigh it with a scale." The old woman scolded, "You thieves! The fifth and sixth mothers inside make me want to buy powder." "Powder? What do you say? Weigh 2 kilograms of rouge powder, and 3 kilograms of rouge powder on a scale, and teach that whore to apply it again and again. See if I say anything to him when I come in." Diane said, "Yakula, sister-in-law, the action is only scare me with one yang." Another time he shouted, "Ben low, see, I tell you. The head of the door is looking at the plum blossom and chrysanthemum cellar. I want to buy 2 pairs to wear." Bicey missed the sale and at least concentrated on watching the seller for him, calling him to stop and asking him to come out and buy. The woman stood at the second-floor door, looking through the door compartment, and asked him for 2 pairs of hua da chue, and 2 squares of purple silk and glittering gold sweat scarves, which she paid him 7 cents and 5 cents in total. The woman took out half a piece of silver from her waist, and Young and Bensy chiseled it out for him, weighing 7 cents and 5 cents and giving it to him. Bicey was writing the account, and he left it behind and came over to hammer it for him. Diane came and said, "Wait for me and my sister-in-law to chisel." On the one hand, he took the silver in his hand and did not chisel it. He just looked at the silver. The woman said, "You are a thief. Don't chisel. Why are you just looking at it? Didn't you hear the dog bite in the middle of the night?" "It's stolen silver," Diane said. "It's not stolen. This silver looks familiar. It looks like my father's silver bag. The day before yesterday, my father was in the Dengsheng market, chiseling out the silver from the barbarian selling gold, and half of it was left, which is this silver. I remember it absolutely true." The woman said, "Thieves, in this world, people are still the same. How can I get my father's money?" Diane smiled and said, "I know what the account is." The woman hurried to fight. Dan cut off 7 cents and 5 cents from the silver and gave it to the flower seller. He took the remaining silver in his hand and refused to go with him. The woman said, "The root of the thief. If you dare to take it, I will consider you a hero." Dan said, "I won't take it from you. You can buy some fruits with me and eat the rest." The woman said, "Thief monkey, please pass it over, and I will share it with you." Ku and Diane handed it to him, only snatched 4 or 5 cents of it and gave it to him. The rest was stuffed into his waist and went in all the way. From then on, they often bought cut-out hukui sweat towels and the like at prices at the door, and even put in 4 or 5 liters of melon seeds, which were distributed to the maids in each room and eaten by everyone. The bead hoop on the head and the golden lantern pendant are all yellow. Underneath his clothes, he wore red silk trousers and knee pads. He also wore 3 or 4 fragrant tea and incense buckets in his big sleeves and carried them with him. Seeing that 2 or 3 coins were spent in one day, Simon King did it behind his back. There is no need to elaborate on this matter. Ever since Jin Lian found out about his trap, this woman only stayed in Jin Lian's room every day, making love to him. She had tea and water with him, made shoes and needles, and did not use force. Behind the formal Yunyang, I only meet once a day and come to Jin Lian's side. I play chess and cards with Jin Lian and Pinger every day, and we get together as a group. Or, when she accidentally bumped into Simon King Lai, Jin Lian deliberately asked him to pour wine next to him, and taught him to sit down and play, just to make the man like it. Exactly, wild catkins dance with the wind, and light peach blossoms float with the water.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.